check it out, Carnegie-Stout Library's Adult Services Podcast. It's me, Becky, and I'm here with Sarah, and we're going to talk about some of our upcoming programs, shows that were favorites of the library staff, as well as a food pantry we have going on right now.
That's right. This is the second year that we've had the food pantry here at the library, so I'm pretty excited that we were able to bring it back this year, especially since there are so many people in our community who are in need.
Yes, you are welcome to stop by anytime we are open. We have a table set out in the lobby area downstairs. Also, if you have things you'd like to donate, please do that. Just bring your items that are in canned or, not frozen or refrigerated goods, I guess.
Or glass.
Or glass. No glass either. And bring that to the recommendations desk, and we will get that all checked in and set out for people to take. As needed.
And we're not just taking food. If you have hygiene products, shampoos, toothpaste, toothbrushes, someone brought in diapers, which was incredibly nice and went very, very fast. You can bring those in as well. And I'm also really excited, our monthly virtual craft evening for knitting and crocheting hats, scarves, and or blankets that then will be put out in the food pantry for people to take. And we've already gotten a couple of really cute hats brought in. So if you are a knitter or crocheter, definitely sign up for the virtual crafting evening that's happening on December 15th at 6 p.m. If you are registered, you'll get the Zoom invite for the hangout where we all just work on our crafts and chit-chat about things, as well as 2 skeins of yarn that you can use to make things for the food pantry. And if you have completed projects, bring those in too. We'll accept anything.
Even if you're not a great knitter, because I'm not a great knitter, but I can definitely do a scarf.
Everyone can do a scarf.
Awesome. Perfect. I guess I'll talk a little bit about our do a summer reading challenge, as most people know, but we're going to try doing a winter one this year. It will run from January 2nd to January 31st, and we will have a sheet where you can either choose 3 books of your choice and mark those off and then turn in your log, or there are several other challenges where you only have to pick 2 and it's certain genres of books and things like that. It's drawing of a cozy themed basket with blankets and hot chocolate and things like that. And we will also have drawings for several smaller prizes as well. So that should be fun and something new this year.
That's very cool. Do people have to register in the library, or will there be something on the website?
That's a good question. We're still working out a couple of those details, but I believe they will be able to register both online and in the library.
So definitely keep your eye on the library's newsletter, website, and calendar to learn more about that.
Yeah, we should be able to post on Facebook as well.
Oh, definitely social media. Always
gotta go with social media. The other thing that we have coming up in the recommendations department is we're going to do a fitness fun display. So it'll be focused on at-home fitness, especially since, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. But we'll have books, we'll have DVDs, and we'll be featuring our fitness kits where you can check out lots of different things. There's resistance bands, there's, I think, a
yoga mat and set. There's various tools to help you do advanced Pilates moves. We've got the balance balls, including a Bosu ball, which is sort of half a balance ball with a flat bottom, so you can do extra complicated balancing things.
That would be beyond me.
Yeah, it's pretty much all beyond me, but resistant bands are super great. So those are definitely available for anyone to check out. And we don't have any of the details on this yet, but keep your eye out on social media. We're going to be doing a step challenge in January.
Awesome.
So we'll definitely have more details on that on the next podcast, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, but things to look forward. Yeah, but things to look forward to, which is good.
That'll fit in nicely with the display.
It will.
I also wanted to take a chance to talk up another cool program that's happening in December. On December 12th at 2 p.m., Carnegie-Stout Public Library will be partnering with the Dyersville Public Library, James Kennedy Public Library, to bring Inga Witcher of Around the Farm Table, a PBS Wisconsin program if you're not familiar. She'll be doing a virtual holiday sign up for that because it's going to be super duper cool. I'm very excited about this. We have been working on bringing this program here since last March.
Oh my gosh.
The pandemic has really made a lot of things tricky, but we've got a virtual program lined up and it should be good.
And registration is required for that one?
Yes. All of these virtual programs definitely require registration so that you can get the Zoom link. So you need to have that email and watch for that. And if you've signed up for one of these programs and it's your first time, if you don't see that Zoom link before the event happens, we usually get that sent out by the morning of the event. Check your spam and junk mail folders to see if it wound up in there. And if you still don't see it, call us so that we can get your corrected info and get that link to you.
Absolutely.
Started partnering with a local Green Iowa AmeriCorps group that is sponsored by the Dubuque Metropolitan Area Solid Waste Agency.
That's a mouthful.
Isn't it? But the Solid Waste Agency AmeriCorps group has started working with the library to do some cool programs. There is up on our YouTube channel now a sustainable gift wrapping program. I had no idea, but the gift paper, the wrapping paper, is not recyclable.
Really?
Really.
I have been doing that very wrong for a lot of years then.
Yeah, had no idea.
Good to know.
So they have a lot of great alternative suggestions that look really, really cute for your gift wrap. So definitely check the YouTube channel out to see that. They have also brought in a recycling bin that you can find on the library's second floor at the reference desk, where if you have holiday lights that are no longer working, bring those in, drop them off, and they'll be recycled in a good way, and you don't have to make an appointment at the landfill to drop them off. We've got the bin at the library until January 15th.
Does it matter if they're C9 light bulbs or mini lights or any type welcome?
Just bring them in, drop them off. Yeah, the details. I am not the recycling expert.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be working with them. Another thing to keep your eye on in future months in 2021. Can you believe it's almost a new year?
I cannot.
Wow.
It felt like it started very slow, and now we still are.
Bam. But yes, the Green Iowa AmeriCorps group will be doing a worm composting program in February. We've got that tentatively scheduled, but we're also going to have a sustainable book discussion group that's going to meet in January, and we're going to be reading Braiding Sweetgrass. So those books might be out by the time you hear this podcast, or might not quite yet, so double check the library's calendar, or give us a call at 563-589-4225 and ask for the reference desk, and they can answer any of your questions.
Hello, Great Reading Challenge friends. Just a friendly reminder, you need to turn in your final number of books read by December 30th. You can do so by going to our website under Adult Services Great Reading Challenge, or just stop by or call the recommendations desk and let us know the total number of books you read.
Hi, Ben Eagle here, Adult Services. And some of my favorite reads of the year, I've become a big Jeff Vandermeer fan after reading several of his books this year. I reviewed Born and Dead Astronauts earlier in the year, and recently read the Southern Reach trilogy, which I loved. All his books are weird, haunting, but beautifully written science fiction, and they share a theme of nature and how people are alienated from it and use it for their own means. Quick, two other books I loved this year. The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. It's a classic dystopian novel, incredibly powerful story. And Ring Shout, a new novella by P. J. Clark. It's a fantasy horror story that mixes in African-American folklore and body horror. That's all. Thanks.
Adult Services Librarian Sarah here with 4 of my favorite books from this last year. Probably my favorite book of the year was The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. Incredibly happy, joyful, and very sexy romance novel that I've talked about on the podcast at least once or twice before. Another one of my favorites of the year was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was the first book I read in 2020, which means Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was the first book I read in 2020, which means it feels like it was 10 years ago, but it was this year. And it is, again, just joyful and sexy and great contemporary romance. And if you do the audiobook, they have some wonderful Sweat and Soap by Kintetsu Yamada. This is a manga series that is ongoing, so it hasn't reached an end yet. But the first 3 volumes are just a lot of fun. And it's such a refreshing navigation in a romantic relationship. Super sweet adults and their friendships. And it's also pretty sexy. Definitely don't give this one to any kids or teens. And to switch it up, because I don't just read romance, I really enjoyed the book Hench by because I don't just read romance. I really enjoyed the book Hench by Natalie Walschautz. This is a dark and twisted superhero story that would probably appeal to fans of The Boys. Essentially, a young woman has a part-time temp goes out for revenge against the superheroes who aren't as good as you wish they were. It's a romp. It's dark and pretty funny too. Thanks, and here's to another great year of reading in 2021.
Hello, it's Angie. I'm an adult services librarian at Carnegie-Stout, and I wanted to mention 3 book series that I love. I spent a lot of 2020 reading these series, so I'll just give you a brief rundown, and hopefully you'll find something interesting about some of them or all of them. The Percy Jackson series, which is sets of 5 books. Each set has its own separate title. There's the Percy Jacksons and the Olympians, The Heroes of Olympus, and Trials of Apollo. Just finished the final book of Trials of Apollo last night with my son, and we've been listening for a very long time. The first one came out in 2005, so long time coming, and it was wonderful. The thing about the Percy Jackson books, if you haven't read them, is they're absolutely hysterical. They are geared towards a juvenile audience, but they're definitely one of those that transcends all age groups. They're a lot of fun. Read the books along at the same time, so he would learn how to pronounce a lot of those Greek and Roman god names, but we've just really enjoyed those over the years. The other 2 series are, like I said, Mercy Thompson, which is by Patricia Briggs. Currently, I'm in book number 4. Number 12 in the series just came out this year. Number 12 in the series just came out this year. So that's an ongoing series. That one is about Mercy Thompson. She's a shapeshifter, or in this book, she's called a walker. She is a VW mechanic, and she grew up with a pack of werewolves, and so there's a lot of different fae, witches, werewolves, all sorts of things that don't even have names yet. So that's an enjoyable series. Definitely a lot of action, keeps it going. Probably some interesting VW vehicle trivia, because the narrator is a mechanic for VW vehicle trivia, because the narrator is a mechanic for VW vehicles, and so she talks about that every once in a while. But they're a fun, fast-paced series. The last series I'll mention is the October Day series by Seanan McGuire. Seanan McGuire was actually at Carnegie-Stout in J or Fairy World, but it also includes all sorts of different paranormal creatures, and I think the humor in the October Day series is definitely there, definitely snarky, but there's a lot of emotional depth to the characters. There is a lot of action throughout, so that's definitely there, but a lot of emotional depth to the characters. There is a lot of action throughout, so that's definitely there, but she does an amazing job with world building and just wonderful. We read the first book, Rosemary and Rue, in our book club earlier this year, the mystery book club. Number 14 in the series just came out, and I'm currently reading book number 9. So I've spent a lot of time reading this and the other series. Additionally, I have done audiobooks for all 3 series. Books that I'm talking about, The Mercy Thompson, are narrated by Lorelei King, and she's just a great narrator. She does men and women's voices equally well. And fun fact, she is a fantasy writer herself. And if you remember, or if anyone remembers, she was at Carnegie-Stout 4 or 5 years ago to talk about writing and her fantasy books. And she's a great narrator also. So I hope you find some fun reading this year and continue on to 2021, and maybe you'll pick up one of the books I mentioned today. Happy reading.
Hello, my name is Bailey from the Youth Services Department, and I thought I would share a few of my favorite graphic novels that have come out either this year or really recently. So I'll start with a middle grade choice called Snapdragon by Kat Lay. And this is a sort of fantastical story all about a girl named Snapdragon, or Snap for short. In her town, she has heard that there is a witch, and she knows that that's just a rumor that people like to spread around, but when it becomes personal, she has to go check the witch out for herself. See, what happened is her dog goes missing, and she knows that the witch has something to do with it. So she barges into her home and learns that she might be, for being a witch and all. Once the dog situation gets settled down, Snap and Jax get to know each other, and Snap realizes that Jax is the real deal. She might genuinely have magic, and Snap decides that she wants to learn how to use magic as well. This is a really fun story. I read it in one sitting. I would recommend it to kids and teens and adults of all ages, really. It's a really sweet story. There's a lot of good friendship elements in there, and who doesn't love a little bit of magic? A good choice for the young adult graphic novels would be The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen. And this is a story that sort of mixes contemporary storytelling with like old school fairy tales. And by old school fairy tales, I mean the kind of creepy ones that don't really hold back how dark and scary things can get. This story is all about a boy named Tien, and Tien loves his family, he loves his friends. Genuinely, things are going pretty well for him, but he still has a secret that he's having a lot of trouble telling his parents. And this secret might change everything. The thing is that Tien thinks he's gay, or he knows that he's gay, but he doesn't know how to tell his parents that. For one thing, it might change their relationship, but for another, their first language is Vietnamese, and he can't find the right words in their language to tell him. Luckily, they have different ways to communicate. They love reading old fairy tales together, and they keep finding different correlations and similarities between their past and their present with these old fairy tales. The fairy tales they tell might seem familiar to us at first glance. There are definitely fairy tales that we would recognize, but then they tell their own spin. You know, fairy tales tend to change and morph depending on the culture that they're told in, or even just the families that are really rich and warm, and the story itself is also very rich, very warm. I would also recommend this one to any teen, any adult, and even older kids, I think, could get into this one as long as they're okay with the creepy sort of fairy tale aspects. Finally, They Called Us Enemy by George Takei is probably a graphic novel a lot of us have already heard about so far, but for a young adult or an adult pick, you really can't go wrong with it. This is a graphic memoir by George Takei and co-written with a few other people, Justin Eisinger, Stephen Scott, and then the artist is Harmony Becker. But this is the story of George Takei's childhood. Before he became the famous actor that we all know and love, he was removed from his home when he was 4 years old, and their family was forced into an internment camp in America. This was in 1942. So the graphic novel walks us through the reality of that terrible and uncertain situation. George Takei shows us that life in the internment camps was really traumatizing and very stressful, and something that anyone involved will be unpacking for their entire lives. There were moments of joy, of course. The book isn't all doom and gloom, but it's definitely a needed reminder for all of us to take a look back at our history as a country and really consider what our future as a country might look like. But all of these are wonderful graphic novel picks. I really don't think that you can go wrong with a great graphic novel. Despite what some people think, they are real books. They are just as valuable, just as fun to read, and just as enriching to our lives. So I hope you get to check one out soon.
Hello, I am Alanda Gregory. I am a lead library assistant here at the Carnegie-Stout Library. My number one favorite movie is The Gentleman. It is a Guy Ritchie movie. Guy Ritchie is very good at writing criminal fiction movies, kind of like gangster in a British form, and it is hilarious. I've watched it several times. It is a good movie if you need a laugh, and if you need a book to figure out some of the language. I would suggest to get over to our nonfiction department and look up, I don't know the book, but I know that there's different linguistics books. Books we have here. Okay. Also, my top favorite book of the year is Reading While Black. Favorite TV show is Blackish. I love different types of books. I have books that are the year 2020. However, this year I've had to entertain myself with multiple books, but my all-time favorite book that I love to read and is my go-to book is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Thank you all for enjoying my choices, and as always, thank you for supporting the Carnegie-Stout Library.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Check It Out, Carnegie-Stout Public Library's Adult Services Podcast. Thank you also to Alanda, Angie, Bailey, Becky, Ben, and Sarah for sharing their favorites of 2020. Do you have any favorite books, music, movies, or TV shows that you discovered in 2020?